Hello, I'm Tony. And today I'm going to talk about a common leadership problem that I've had to deal with at one time or another during my career, and I'm guessing probably some of you have had to deal with it also. And I also want to discuss how the path goal leadership theory may help you as a leader in solving this issue. So today I'm going to discuss with you an overview of the class. I'm going to discuss the background of this problem, several studies which relates to this problem and to the path goal leadership theory, the context of the situation, the problem itself. I'll give you a definition of the path goal leadership theory, the framework of it, which includes the variables in the model, and some things to consider, and we'll conclude. Background of this study. There was a study by the Creative Leadership of 763 participants from leadership development programs around the world. It included leaders from 7 different countries, from China, Egypt, India, Singapore, Spain, United Kingdom, and the United States. And the thing they found out amongst these 763 participants was they all had 6 common categories of leadership issues that they had to deal with, or that they felt was a problem. And those were developing managerial effectiveness, and this was usually for new managers, developing relevant skills, time management, strategic thinking, getting up to speed with the job. There was an issue with inspiring others, which included motivating others to ensure they are satisfied with their job. Developing employees for mentoring or coaching. Leading the team, which included leading or installing team pride, team development, team management, and what to do when taking over a new team. They had issues with guiding change, which was managing, mobilizing, understanding, and leading change. And then finally, managing internal stakeholders in politics. That was managing relationships, politics, and image, and getting buy-in from other departments and groups or individuals. Now, these are all issues I think we all have had to deal with at one point or another, and we can all relate to most of these issues. And hopefully at the end of this class, the path goal leadership theory will help you combat some of these issues that these leaders thought there was an issue with. Now we go into a theory. The theory tries to predict an outcome. That's a predictor, and uses that, or tries to predict that by using variables. In this case, dependent and situational variables. So the path goal leadership theory, what it's going to try to do is predict a leader behavior or help direct you towards a specific behavior based on subordinate satisfaction, which is what your goal is, and the subordinate task structure and repetitiveness and subordinate characteristics. Okay, and we'll get into those subordinate characteristics a little bit later. Now we're assuming that these subordinates want to perform well and they want to be satisfied. Okay, the context for this are that team leaders are being placed in positions where they lack hands-on experience. The team is highly trained with various degrees of experience. The team leader is not the main point of contact with the task. The organization is very structured and the environment is very structured, and there's a high possibility of political fallout if the task is not completed correctly. The team leader only has a general knowledge of the task and has never performed the task themselves. Okay, and this task is so structured that it can only be learned from first-hand experience. Now keep in mind that this is just one area of issues. There may be other issues people have, but we're going to focus on this context today. So what is the problem? The team leader attempts to overcompensate because of a lack of experience. Okay, they have a perceived pressure to perform or to lead due to the high structure of the organization. They have self-promotion, so they may want to be promoted. They may want to look good to their leader or to their colleagues. Or the leader may not know any other way to lead. That's the way they were brought up when they were junior, and this is the only way they know. Okay, and what happens is they choose the wrong type of behavior to use in situations, and this behavior could be either directive or supportive. Okay, when I talk about directive behavior, I'm not talking about yelling at someone. I'm talking about having clear, concise rules and clear, concise job objectives and performance objectives. Okay, and if we use the wrong type of behavior, a leader can create resentment and anger within the group, subordinates can lose motivation, and mistakes can be made. Now, a leader can bring in a myriad of biases into this situation, but I've chosen two here which I think fit with this context, and they're going to be confirmation bias and self-serving bias. Confirmation bias is a tendency to search and consider only information that will confirm your own beliefs. Now, if a leader lacks experience, or if they feel that they lack experience, or their subordinates may have more experience than they have, they may feel a need to be right, and in order to do that, they will surround themselves with people or groups of people who will confirm their own beliefs to make themselves feel more correct. And they also have a self-serving bias, a tendency to judge ourselves in a positive light, even if it's not justified, which may also occur when a leader lacks experience and is looking for self-promotion, or they have that the need to lead or perceive that they're leading. Well, hopefully we can recognize this, and help is on the way. And the path goal leadership theory may be able to help you in some of these situations if you find yourself in this situation. The path goal leadership theory, in a nutshell, its purpose is for leaders' role is to clear a path for the subordinate to accomplish their goal or mission. Okay, we focus on behavior, providing guidance and support. So as a leader, we see what the goal is of our subordinate. We look down that path to see if there's anything in their way, and we try to remove those barriers to give them a clear path to achieve their goal. Now, how we do that is a different question, and that will determine on what I was talking about before, the situational variables, the task structure, and the type of person your subordinate is, and that behavior you use will enable you to remove barriers. Or if you use the wrong behavior, it'll increase the barriers. Now, the framework for the path goal leadership theory is based on the expectancy model from Victor Vroom. Okay, Victor Vroom determined that people will choose a behavior based on their perceived chances of accomplishing their goals. The better chance of a subordinate accomplishing their goals, then the more motivated they will be. Now, it's up to the leader to know what those goals are, and you learn that from talking to your subordinate and having a thorough knowledge of what their job is. The key to motivating then is to remove obstacles that will lessen the hold between effort and performance and outcome. So if we remove the barriers which allow them a better chance of accomplishing their goal, not only will they be motivated, but they will not have to work as hard to achieve those goals. There's nothing worse than working very hard as a subordinate, putting all your effort into it, and then not actually achieving your goal. Okay? No one wants that. So basically, a leader makes it easier for a subordinate to accomplish their goals. The subordinate has to use less effort. Okay, the characteristics of the subordinate will determine what behavior the leader uses to help lower those barriers. Okay, and when we talk about subordinates' goals, we can use different types of behavior, directive or supportive. Okay, and we'll discuss what those behaviors are in a second. Now, I talked a little bit before, variables in the model. The situational variables are variables that the leader is not able to change in the short term. So the task structure and subordinate characteristics are not something that can be changed right away. Now, over time, you might be able to change the task structure or the task itself over a long period of time, thus lowering the barriers. But in the short term, those are a given. Okay. And remember, the dependent variable was the subordinate satisfaction, and the predictor is what we're trying to predict, the behavior we're trying to use. And we'll predict our behavior based on the dependent and situational variables. Now, how does this help me as a leader? Team leaders will be able to become more effective because people will be achieving their goals. The subordinate will achieve their goals, the leader will achieve his goal, and the company will achieve their goal. This will build team morale, which will in turn be better production from the subordinate, and it makes it more satisfying for everyone involved. Now, what can you do as a team leader? First, the team leader has to be willing to change and recognize their own strengths and weaknesses. You have to know what you're good at, what you need help with. You need to be able to admit when something's not working and be able to change course. Second, the team leader must be able to understand the differences in subordinates. You have to know different things will work with different people, and you can't treat everyone exactly the same. Now, you can have the same standards for everyone, the same end result. However, how you achieve that end result, you may have to treat people differently to get the best out of them. Now, how do I apply this? Mitchell and Smeisner conducted a study about the locus of control, and what they feel is, what do people think controls them? You have internal and external people. Internal people feel they control their own fate, and if their fate or their goal is satisfaction, they feel that they control that if they work hard, it's up to them to achieve their goal. External people feel outside forces control their fate. So in other words, they can work as hard as they want to work, but if it didn't work, something outside of their forces forced it to not work. Now, if you want to find out what you are, internal or external, or what your employees are, listed 3 websites here will have simple tests, 10 to 15 minutes long each, and it'll give you an idea of either you're an internal or external type person. Here's some things to think about with this Mitchell and Smeisner study. Internals are more satisfied with their work than externally controlled people. Okay, internals desire a more supportive style, so they don't need to have everything written out for them. External desire a more directive style, but not as much as internals desire a more supportive style. Okay, externals, because they think everything outside their control can affect them, they want to know the rules, they want to know everything written down, so if something doesn't go right, they can say, see, this is why it didn't work. And internals feel that they have more control over it, so they don't need it, they don't need as much direction. And internals believe hard work will lead to good things. Again, the expectancy theory. They believe with hard work, that lowers their barriers and it increases their chances of achieving their goals, therefore they are more motivated. There was another study by John Matteo, who put people into 2 categories, the high need for achievement people and the high need for affiliation. The high need for achievement, he said that they aspire to complete difficult tasks, they have high standards, and they want to perform moderately to difficult tasks where success depends on effort. And the high need for affiliation people derive accomplishment from relationships. Okay, they enjoy being around other people, and they get their satisfaction from the groups they're in, not from the actual task itself. Now, the high need for achievement people, you could say they could be externals. They prefer more directive style, rules, paths, jobs well defined. However, you could say they were internals also because they believe hard work will achieve their goals. Okay, and you have a high need for affiliation people could be internals because they preferred a directive style but not as much, and they wanted a little bit more of a supportive style. Okay, but the only time they ever wanted a directive style was when it facilitated a group activity. So when a group was doing the job, they wanted to know what the rules were. But personally and individually, high need for affiliation people liked a more supportive style of leadership. Now, what makes us happy? Robert House was a person who developed the path-goal leadership theory, and he hypothesized that the lower the task structure, the higher will be the relationship for a directive style. So the less the structure of the task, so the more open it was, the more need for someone to direct people in the right direction. Okay, and conversely, the lower the task structure, the lower will be the relationship for a supportive style. So if you needed a more directive style, obviously a less supportive style would fit. Structured tasks are less satisfying, requiring a more supportive style. So the more structured, he's basically saying, the less directive you need and the more supportive you need, which goes along with the first 2. And then unstructured tasks are more satisfying with supportive style less important. So if they're unstructured, he's saying you need to have a little bit more of a directive style, plus they are more satisfying, so you don't need to be as supportive. Now, Stenson and Johnson did a study basically trying to confirm if pathical leadership theory worked. And their study determined that task structures and repetitiveness did have an effect on leadership style. However, it had the opposite effect of what House thought. Subordinates more satisfied with directive style under high task structure and repetitiveness, less satisfied under a more supportive style. So they basically said the higher the task structure or repetitiveness of the task, the more directive style they wanted, which was the exact opposite of what House thought. Task autonomy, so the freedom that people had to do what they wanted to do, really had no effect because the task is the task, okay? And the correlation between leader style and subordinate satisfaction are more positive under higher task structure than higher task structure and task repetitiveness. So the higher the task structure and repetitiveness, the more effect style had on satisfaction. Now, some things to consider. What we learned about internals and need for affiliation: they desire more supportive style. They're more satisfied with their work in general, and they feel in control of their own fate. Okay, they seem to be happier. Externals and the need for achievement desire more directive style. They have high standards and want to do hard tasks. However, with those tasks, you're going to have to really give them the goals and give them the procedures of what they're supposed to do. And the higher the task structure repetitiveness, the more satisfied with the more directive style people will be, and opposite for less structure and repetitiveness tasks. So the more repetitive and structured a task is, the more direct people want the leader to be, and less supportive in a sense. Now we got to take all these aspects into consideration. Okay, when you're dealing with people, whether they're internals or externals, their need for affiliation versus the need for achievement, and the structure and repetitiveness of the task. Now, there's no right answer in this, and it seems like some of these things could have contradicted themselves, but if you have the information you have and you apply it the best you can, you have the knowledge and the power to know what drives people, and you know what type of person you're dealing with, you can adjust your leadership behavior based on the situation itself. Sometimes you may be more direct, and you have to be supportive all in the same time, depending on the task and the characteristics of your subordinate. Now, this is just one leadership theory, okay, and with one type of problem. There are multiple problems, as we all know, and there are other theories you might want to review also to get a better grasp or more rounded understanding. There's Fiedler's contingency model, the normative model, substitutes for leadership, leadership member exchange, and situational leadership. So in conclusion, we went over what a theory tries to do, tries to predict the outcome. In this case, what behavior the leader is going to use by using variables. The dependent variable, which isn't changing in this situation, which is satisfaction of the employee, and then situational variables, which are things that the employee can't or the leader cannot change, and are dependent on the task structure and repetitiveness, and are dependent on the employee characteristics, internals or externals, etc. Be aware of these variables and the possible outcomes, and this will help a leader determine best course of action to help the subordinate achieve their goal. And goal achievement will help everyone involved. And with a little bit of knowledge of how your employee works, what makes them tick, you will be able to adjust your leadership behavior to help remove those barriers and thus allow your employee a better chance of achieving their goal and giving them more motivation. Thank you for your time, and I hope you learned something.